I never thought having my parents over for the weekend would end with the HOA president storming off in the rain, screaming that without her the neighborhood would collapse. But that's exactly what happened after days of harassment, fake violation slips, even a tow truck in my driveway. I watched Karen Walker, self-proclaimed queen of the cul-de-sac, lose every shred of power she thought she had. And it all started with a single rental car. That morning, I woke up to the sound of a horn blaring outside my house. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but when I pulled back the curtain there, she was Karen in her bathrobe holding her clipboard like it was a royal scepter. She was standing directly in front of my parents' car, blocking it like some kind of martyr for the HOA. And the horn, that was my dad, sitting calmly behind the wheel, 5 hours of driving behind him, not exactly in the mood for nonsense. "You can't park here," she shrieked, her voice slicing down the street like a smoke alarm. "Visitors must register through me first. I'll have this car towed." My dad rolled down the window, utterly calm. "We're in my son's driveway." That only made her puff up bigger. Driveways fall under community jurisdiction. No permit, no parking. That's a $50 fine. By then, I was already outside in a hoodie hoping to stop this before my neighbors filmed it for the next viral HOA meltdown video. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. "Good, you're awake. Tell your guests," she spat the word like it was dirty, "that this is not a motel. Rules are rules. I enforce them." My mom stepped out, tote bag in hand, scarf around her shoulders like she was heading into a PTA meeting instead of a showdown. "Ma'am, we're not causing trouble. We came to see our son. Surely there's no problem parking in his own driveway." Karen laughed a laugh that said she'd already won. "If you knew how this neighborhood worked, you wouldn't even ask. I've lived here 20 years. I am the standard. And if I say it's out of order, then it's out of order." I couldn't stop myself. Funny, I thought the HOA bylaws were the standard. Her glare could have peeled paint. "Don't get smart with me. I can write you up for insubordination," my dad chuckled. Insubordination? What is this, a military base that set her off even worse? She started snapping photos of everything, license plate, my house, even my parents standing there bewildered. "You'll regret this," she muttered, thumbs flying on her phone. I wanted to crawl back inside and pretend it wasn't happening. But this was just the beginning. That evening she came back, not calmer, not embarrassed, but triumphant. She slapped a printed violation slip on my front step, complete with an HOA letterhead she had no right to use. "This is your official warning. Next time it'll be a tow truck." My dad picked it up, turned it over like evidence in a courtroom. "Could we get your full name for documentation?" She beamed. "Karen Walker, HOA Board Chair." "Perfect," my dad said, smiling just slightly. When she strutted away, I turned to my parents. They weren't shocked. They weren't even rattled. They were professional. My mom finally said it. She doesn't know who she's dealing with. That's when I learned my parents weren't just retirees visiting their son. My mom was still deputy director for city code enforcement. My dad was a senior planner. Karen had just declared war on people who literally wrote half the rules she was pretending to enforce. The next morning, Karen was back patrolling the street like a drill sergeant. She crouched in front of my parents' car, running her finger along the bumper like she was searching for contraband. My mom sipped her tea by the window, cool as ever. "That's strike two," she said. My dad emerged from the guest room with his laptop. "Guess what? This HOA hasn't even filed half the compliance reports they're required to, and our friend Karen is listed as the contact on all of them." I wanted to scream. "You're only here for the weekend. Don't make this your battle." But then, Karen pounded on the door, waving a laminated sheet straight out of Microsoft Word 2003. "Guest vehicles must be in the overflow lot. Move it now, or I'll tow it." My dad stepped forward. "One question. Does your policy supersede municipal parking code?" Karen sneered. "Municipal code doesn't apply here. This is private property." My mom tilted her head. "Interesting, because under Section 8, 14 of the Residential Development Act driveways remain under dual jurisdiction, which means you're bluffing." For a moment, Karen's jaw actually dropped. Then she snapped more photos and stormed off. My parents looked at each other, calm. calculated. Meanwhile, I was a bundle of nerves. And honestly, for a second, I thought about giving in. I really did. I considered telling my parents to just leave their car at a hotel, maybe Uber, over anything to avoid more drama. I hated conflict. I hated knowing my neighbors were peeking out their blinds watching my house become the HOA circus. A part of me whispered, maybe Karen's right. Maybe I should have done the guest permit. Maybe this is my fault. But then my dad looked at me, steady, patient. Don't let a bully win. Rules are one thing. Harassment is another. And that was the crack I needed. If not us, then who? That afternoon she returned with backup 2 board members standing stiff in khakis, parroting rules are rules. My dad leaned against the doorframe, smiling faintly. Gentlemen, are you comfortable being legally responsible for trespass and harassment? Because that's what this looks like. My mom's voice cut sharper than steel. If you keep this up, the city will take notice. Karen scoffed, but I saw the men exchange uneasy glances. Still, she wasn't done. That night, a tow truck rolled into the cul-de-sac rumbling like a dragon she'd summoned. She shoved the violation slip at the driver. Unauthorized vehicle. Remove it. My dad strolled out holding a folder. Before you hook it, you might want to look at this. It was the city ordinance highlighted. The driver scanned it, frowned. Lady, you didn't say anything about city code. Karen shrieked. Ignore him, tow it. But the driver backed away. Not risking my license. He drove off, leaving Karen coughing in the exhaust, speechless for once. My dad's voice was calm. That's strike 3. Word spread fast. By the next day, neighbors were whispering, some even nodding at me with quiet solidarity. Karen, humiliated, doubled down. She shoved a letter under my door violations for my porch light, my lawn. Even unauthorized guest occupancy. It was laughable, and my parents treated it like sloppy homework. Still, I couldn't shake the unease. She wasn't backing down. That night, I nearly dropped my spatula when I caught her filming my barbecue from over the fence. Documenting unauthorized structures, she muttered like my grill was a crime scene. My dad whispered, perfect evidence of harassment. Let her bury herself. Easy for him to say. Then came the barricade. One morning I walked out to find an orange plastic fence blocking my driveway. Laminated sign flapping guest parking restricted. Violators will be fined. Karen stood proudly beside it, clipboard clutched like a shield. My mom snapped a photo. This is unlawful obstruction. Get the angles. My dad narrated into his phone like a field reporter. Unauthorized signage, intent to intimidate. Karen barked, You can't move it. That's destruction of HOA property. My dad lowered his phone. This is trespassing. Every second it stays is another violation. She smirked. Take me to court. I always win. But there was a twitch in her jaw, a flicker of doubt. The next day, city inspectors rolled up in official jackets. Neighbors poured out to watch. Ma'am, this is obstruction of private property. Remove it immediately. Karen stammered, but this is community enforcement. The inspector didn't blink. You don't have the authority to override city code. Karen turned crimson, but she tore the barricade down herself, cursing under her breath while the neighbors filmed. I thought that would end it. I prayed it would end it. But Karen wasn't finished. She called an emergency hearing in the clubhouse, waving violation slips like war flags. We walked in dripping from a thunderstorm, the room buzzing with fluorescent lights and tension. She pounded her gavel, read a list of charges. Guest vehicle violations. Disrespect of authority, hostile behavior. My parents didn't flinch. My mom placed a folder on the table. According to your own charter, you're required to keep bylaws filed with the city. You haven't. You can't impose fines without certified officers. None of you are certified. And by city law, driveways aren't regulated by guest policy. Everything you just said is invalid. Karen's smirk cracked. My dad stepped forward with more documents. You've also failed to submit reports for 3 of the last 5 years. That's a direct violation of your charter. The accountant board member cleared his throat. Karen, is that true? She slammed the gavel. Irrelevant. I am the authority here. My mom slid her ID badge onto the table. My dad followed. City issued. Official. Undeniable. The room went silent. A murmur rose from the neighbors. The spell was broken. Karen lost it. She hurled her stack of violations into the air like confetti, screaming, "Without me, this place is nothing. You'll beg me to come back." And then she stormed out into the storm papers fluttering down like white flags no one wanted. The board sat stunned. Neighbors whispered. My parents stood steady, resolved as though they'd done this 100 times before. By morning, Karen was gone loading boxes into her SUV clipboard still tucked under her arm like she couldn't let it go. Our eyes met one last time, rage flickering with resignation before she slammed the trunk and drove away. And that's how the reign of Karen Walker ended. Not with a victory speech, not with cheers, but with her walking away in the rain stripped of the power she thought she owned. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to let them expose themselves.